Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Burnt Pancakes podcast. I am your host, Katie Fensky, and I'm reminding moms that everyone burns their first pancake. Now, today we're going to be talking all things teenagers, those big feelings, those tricky conversations, and the moments where you're wondering, am I totally messing this up? I am joined by the three incredible creators of Cultivateen Roots, a course designed to help parents feel supported and help teens feel heard. Whether you're in the thick of it with your teen or you're just trying to prepare yourself for what's ahead, this conversation is full of so much encouragement, insight, and practical tools that you can start using right away. I loved talking with these ladies. I had the best time and got so many great tips. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Ladies, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you
so much.
I am
excited to be
have
here.
you all on. I have an 11-year-old, but I'm like, I am going to need help with him. So I want to like prepare myself and learn everything I need to know about teens before we get there. So before we start, can you guys just really quickly introduce yourselves? And I do want to hear the story of how you all met.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Katie asked right when we logged on how we all met. I was like, it is a story to tell.
Yeah,
So
and I was like, save it,
Sorry.
save it.
we've been waiting for somebody to
We're
ask.
waiting now.
I'm Caitlin Severin. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in working with tweens and teens, both in the school setting and in private practice.
And I am Aaliyah Singh, and I am a credentialed high school counselor. I've worked in the middle school setting, but spent most of my career in the high school setting.
And I'm Hannah Takajo, and I'm a special ed teacher, and I work in the high school, public high school as well. And I've been teaching for 10 years.
Okay. Oh man, I give high school teachers so much credit. I taught elementary. So the
you did?
highest, yeah, the highest I
Good.
went was like student taught fifth grade, but mostly fourth grade. That was like my jam.
Okay.
But before I had to do subbing and I subbed in middle school and it was, I think now that I have kids, it might be different, but like I was over my head in middle school.
It can feel like the Wild West, but we all love it. Teenagers just like it's our favorite age group.
Yeah, and I
So.
hear so many moms saying that, like, don't be scared of the teen years. Like, it is such a fun time. So,
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of our favorite like sayings that we have is facts over fear. Like there are things that are scary and that's valid. And also we want to empower parents to, understand what's going on during the
Love
teen
that.
years so that they can feel empowered
Mhm.
to connect with their teen and not feel scared about what's happening or what might come up.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that because I'm like a sciencey person. If you give me
Okay.
like the science behind why they're behaving a certain way, then I'm like,
Yes.
oh, now I don't have to just like flounder and get angry. It's like,
Totally.
then why you're
Our-
talking back.
Our course starts
Totally.
with the science of it. It starts,
Love it.
and we can dive into that more.
Love
but
it. Okay, before
you
we get
asked
into
about
that,
our
what-
origin story.
Yeah, yes, I want to hear
Yeah.
that.
Well, do you want the long version or the
We can
short
tell,
version?
we can tell
'Cause
Cliff Notes, but it's
yeah.
pretty
Cliff
wild.
It is. It's
Okay.
kind of crazy.
Should I start the story?
Yeah, you start it.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm a high
Well,
school.
Hannah and I are sisters.
Yes.
Okay,
So we're
I could
sisters.
see it. I could see it.
So they met,
Okay.
At
We
birth.
Even
met,
though we're- Even though
yeah.
my last name is Japanese and hers is Indian.
Yeah, we married people who were Indian and Japanese.
So I teach at the local high school, and it was August of 2020.
21.
21.
Okay.
And Caitlin and I shared a student, and so we were emailing about the student before the school year started because she was providing services for the student that I case manage. And so she knew my name, but we had never met in person. And then Caitlin met our dad, coincidentally, at a car rental shop. And my dad like asked Caitlin if she worked in the schools because she had her lunch bag. It was in the morning, and she was like, "Yeah, I work for Petaluma City Schools." And then my dad's like, "Oh, my daughter teaches at Petaluma High. Do you know Hannah Takajo?" And so then Caitlin's like, "Actually, I do."
I
Like,
do.
yeah.
We had a meeting the next day scheduled.
next
So I was
day.
like, I don't know her,
funny.
but she's on my calendar for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're like,
And
hey, I just met your dad.
Yeah. I was like, I hope he didn't embarrass me. He just moved to the area. I'm like, this is what I'm worried
No.
about.
And I went home and told my husband that night, like, I met the kindest man at the car.
Aw.
crashed my husband's car and was fixing it and had a car rental. And I was like, I seriously met the nicest person today. It was, and I don't usually feel that way about random strangers. So
Aw.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
actually crazy, Caitlin. I don't know if I told you, but the student that we shared just graduated actually.
yes, so cool.
Wow. That is, yeah. I was thinking back
And then
my last class because I left the classroom when my son was 1 and
Okay.
then did like independent study. So it was kind of like
Okay.
homeschool charter school. But I was
Yeah.
trying to think of like how old those kids were that I left. And
Mm.
I'm like, they are
yes,
out of high
it's
school. Like
so
they're
wild
probably
to,
out of college.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're like
yeah.
in the world, they're voters, they have
Yes.
jobs. Like,
Yes. And then I'm like, do I
Totally.
even
Fully
remember their
functioning
names? I'm like,
adults.
yep, there's some I remember their names still.
you're like,
Mhm.
you could look them up
Yeah.
on Instagram or
No,
Facebook.
Oh
probably.
God.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
yeah, so that's how we first met, and then Aaliyah joined the high school um, a year later, and so
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had been working at a middle school and then a spot opened up and Hannah's like, oh my God, like dream come true.
mm.
A
Oh,
counseling
that
job
was
opened
so
up at
fun.
Petaluma High. And so then I interviewed and she's like, you're gonna love Caitlin because we have a mutual love of Bravo and all things like Real Housewives. So from the moment we met, we like haven't stopped talking since. And
Oh,
then
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah. And then Aaliyah had this idea, which you can probably explain the best,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But then, yeah. So I had this idea. I'd been getting so many calls from parents being like, how do I help my child? And I was feeling like, okay, I have all these kids coming in asking for support, but I'm getting just as many calls and emails from their parents asking for help. And I just don't have enough time in the day to help them. And at the same time, I had little kids at home and I was doing all of these online courses, like, how to get my baby to sleep, like
yes.
how to do baby
Yep.
led weaning, how to
potty
do potty
training.
training,
Yep.
all of those
Mhm.
things. And I was like, oh my God, these are the things that are helping me get through the years that are so difficult right now for me. Is there anything out there for parents of tweens and teens? And I looked and looked and there was nothing like that. So I was like, like I wonder if we could provide something like that for this category, this like group of parents.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Hannah, Caitlin, like, do you think we have something here? And then yeah, this is
Because we each
where
kind of bring a unique
yeah,
perspective, you
perspective.
know.
Mhm. And then
Um,
fast forward, and here it is.
Yes. Fast forward and
Yes.
here it is. Yeah,
And
two and a
I
half
mean,
we
there's
years
a
later.
lot going on in the
Yeah.
meantime, but
Yes.
Yeah, and we had all of these like weird. So I had met their dad, and then their younger sister met my parents at an airport hotel,
so
and then I
Randomly
met their like mom's best friend at a park. It's just like the
oh,
universe was just
was
pushing
just
us
too
bringing us
many
together.
signs.
together.
Yes.
There's like 4 or 5 people of overlap that we would just like run into, and
Wow.
Yeah.
and even
it
today we have
definitely.
a little sign from our dad that's a smiley face, and even
Yeah.
today a smiley face came out of
I
Caitlin's
know.
I
library.
Yeah.
know.
So our
I was
dad had ended up passing away a couple months after Caitlin met him. And so that kind of like
Mhm.
cemented the friendship between Hannah and Caitlin. And so we feel like he brought Caitlin
Brought you
to us as
together.
he's
this
kind of
gift. And
I
pushing
like
all this
got
yeah.
energy
chills
together.
hearing
Yeah.
Yeah.
that.
So yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I
smiley
was
faces are a sign for him. So Caitlin's
I
found a
was
smiley face
reading my
today.
Oh, I love
book and
that.
I opened it and it's a library book and out pops this like super shiny penny with a smiley face and Sharpie written on it. It's like,
Oh,
So weird.
okay,
like
so
you
So
just
weird.
can't make that stuff up.
I
I
know.
know,
It's
I
like,
know. I feel like when we tell other people, they're like, okay. But I'm like,
oh
I'm sorry,
no,
did
no,
you
I
find a
am
smiley face penny in your library book?
Yeah. No, sir. No.
right. I am all about those signs. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's
Yeah.
such a
And
cool
that's the only
story.
time that Caitlin met my dad.
Yeah, we're like, so
Not
you
Mhm.
in
met our dad
Yeah,
before you met us.
I
Like,
did.
Yeah.
And so he has
So
no idea that we became
yeah. So
we
yeah,
friends
did
he
as
this.
didn't
part of the
Yes.
he didn't
business.
live to know that we became like friends and
Yeah.
business
Right.
partners and all of that. I mean, we feel like
But
he knows,
he
but
clearly knows
Right,
because
I was
he's
gonna
dropping
say
yeah.
he's
smiley
probably
faces
like,
in my library
yeah, I
books.
did, and
Yeah,
I'm so proud
duh.
of him.
He's like, I made this happen, you guys.
Yeah.
Give me
So
credit.
Exactly.
Are you
Exactly.
guys all at the same school right now?
we have been before, but I work for the district office, so I get
Okay.
shuffled around a lot.
Okay.
And before I was at both of the high schools in our town, and one of them is the one that Hannah and Leah work at, and one of them is on the other side of town. And then I got moved to the middle school and the high school.
Okay.
So
What area
yeah,
of the
yeah.
country are you?
We're in California,
Oh,
Northern
Northern
California.
California.
oh,
Yeah.
Northern
hmm
California. Okay.
Just north of San Francisco.
Oh, got it.
in
Okay. I'm
Sonoma
Southern
County.
California.
Near wine
Okay.
country.
SoCal. So wait, you
Love
guys,
them too.
what do you guys say? There's like NorCal lingo. I just heard someone do a whole skit about it.
Oh, really?
Really?
Like NorCal versus SoCal, like
SoCal.
how we're
Oh,
different.
funny.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
funny.
we are very different, but
I
also
know.
united, you know,
Yes, it's
Yes,
true.
so
united
true.
as Californians.
Well, we also know how
Californians.
it is to be in a school in California and like the
Yeah.
standards and the testing, because you
Uh-huh.
guys
There's
probably
a
just
lot.
finished up your testing, closing up your
Yeah.
school.
Dealing
We
with
sure did.
wildfires,
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all of it.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk teens then a little bit.
Okay.
Um, the science of it, because I know that's how it
Yes.
starts. I want to know about the brain. Like, what is going to
Great.
be happening to my son's brain that is going to change his behavior and everything about him?
Okay, so our whole, like I said, module 2 is all dedicated to the brain in our course. And we tried to make it really um kind of bite-sized and easy to digest. Like Hannah was saying earlier, it's great because we all bring different perspectives. So I have my master's in psychology and master's of science in psychology and have that lens. And then Hannah, when we were writing our course, was able to be like, oh, okay, yeah, like as somebody who doesn't know this stuff, this makes sense, and I'm able to digest this and understand it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did a bunch of testing with different people who don't have a background in psychology or education, made sure that it would feel understandable
Mm-hmm.
and relevant. So I think the number one thing that people think of with the teen brain is hormones, right?
Yeah,
It's
100%.
like
That
the
was my first
hormones are going to
question.
take over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there's actually all of this stuff going on with neurotransmitters, which are like the kind of the text messages of the brain, the things that signal back and forth. And basically, when you're a kid, you have almost think of it as like a giant garden that's crazy and growing and wild and all over the place, right? And as you become an adolescent, there's this thing that happens called pruning and myelination, which is basically shaping of the brain to hyper focus on certain topics of interest. And it's how we form our paths in life, right? It's if we had every interest that we have as a kid, we wouldn't be able to hone in on anything. So I always think of it as like somebody coming in and pruning the garden and making it like more functional.
Okay.
And with that process comes all of these really cool, dynamic, amazing experiences that teenagers have where teenagers are like recording albums and creative and like they're so energetic and have all of this passion. And also the focus on it sometimes feels like it's a little chaotic.
They're all over the place.
And the emotions feel so big because the passion is so driven. So the reptilian brain, the back part of your brain, that fight or flight is in full swing, and the front part of the brain is not all the way developed, your frontal lobe. Teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about teenagers, we always talk about their
Yep.
frontal lobe because they have all of this happening in their brain, and the frontal lobe is sometimes working and sometimes not working. And so it can be confusing because you might have a teenager just making really good decisions one day and then like, wait, what the heck? I thought you were fully capable of deciding this,
Right.
and now you're making this like impulsive, chaotic decision.
Got it. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge because you're like, wait, why do all of a sudden like I see my son right now is very impulsive. And I'm like, at what
Uh-huh.
point does that change? But it's going to be a gradual change,
It's a
not
gradual
overnight.
change, and it's sometimes some days it's fully functioning and great, and then some days it's not, or some situations it's fully functioning and great, and sometimes it's not. So
Mm,
having some compassion and understanding for that, I think is really key for parents of
yeah.
teens.
I
And I
think
think too, it can be hard because you're like, oh, you know that this is bad for
Yes.
you, or you know you're not supposed to do this.
Right.
But
Yes.
like, even though they know that, the things that are going on in their brain, it just overrides that. Like
Ugh.
it overrides the knowledge that they have because their desire to seek out behaviors that increase their dopamine, which is like that feel good hormone,
Mhm.
just is so strong.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of dopamine then, social media and smartphones, are
Yeah.
you seeing a huge difference? Because that's what they get from that. They get that
Yep,
dopamine fix. Are
absolutely.
you seeing a huge difference in kids now than let's say 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think social media there's definitely a role, right? Like social media is playing a role. We have the research to back it. We know that that's a common factor. And I think it's a really easy target to point to and put all of that fear energy into,
Hmm.
right? Because it almost feels controllable. It's like, oh, if we can
Right.
take away social media, if we can take away the phones, if we can manage it, then we can manage everything else. And maybe there's some truth to that. And I think that it's deeper than that. I think that there's some isolation happening and some sadness happening that draws kids into the phones. And
Mhm.
sometimes I wonder if we focus more on like the connection and communication between parents and their teens, if the social media piece won't feel as heavy and
Oh,
scary.
interesting. If a parent asked you, like, what is your advice? When should a kid get a cell phone or smartphone? What would be your
That's a
best
good
advice?
question.
A
That is
great question. What we really like to advise parents is to reflect on what's going on in their own family and their own child's capabilities. So we like to think about phones and social media as something that requires certain skill levels. We compare it to like getting your license to drive a car, right? You wouldn't just put your child in a car and be like, okay, bye, see you later, right? They go to driver's ed, they have to do behind the wheel training. You have to feel like they have a level of maturity to be out there on the road navigating difficult situations, understand the laws that are in place around being able to drive. So we want you as a family unit and as the parent in the family to be able to understand your child and what needs to be in place and what their maturity level is before you say, "Oh, let's give you a phone." So for some families, that might be like, "Oh, my child is 12. I feel like they, have the capacity to be able to use a phone with these certain boundaries or guidelines around them." For other families, they might be like, my 12-year-old would not be able to handle, even with these
Mhm.
boundaries, like that, it's going to look different. So it really
Mhm.
is dependent on what your child needs and what your family looks like. And that boundary piece is so important, right? Like we want to teach them the skills and give them those structures and support so that they can learn how to use this tool appropriately
I love
so
that.
that when
Yeah.
they're out there in the world
Yeah.
they
And it's
have
like
They have
that.
baby
those
steps.
skills.
Baby
Yeah,
steps.
and I think like it's hard because right now what's really trendy is saying do this, do this, do this, do this, right? And this blanket statement of like wait till 8th or don't no social media till you're 16. Um and obviously like if in Australia the government decided that 16-year-olds can't or you have to be 16 to have social
Did
media.
that's officially a thing?
That's officially a thing. Yes. And so I think in another country too. So that's great because that'll give us data and research.
Mm-hmm.
And if that were to happen, I think that that could be a really good thing. And also that's not what's happening here. And so we have to live in the reality
Right.
of what is happening here. And I think sometimes parents are drawn to, especially with younger kids, these resources that are telling them like if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll be totally fine and you won't lose your kid to technology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really appealing because it's so
That's why I
scary.
sought out those courses. I'm like, I
Yeah.
just want to sleep. Just tell me
Yes,
what to do to get
Yes.
my child to sleep. And it's like, it's
totally.
not always black and white.
Oh, for
Black
sure.
and white,
hmm
Yeah.
right? Like there's
Especially with teens. And I think that's probably the reason why when Aaliyah was doing the research about what courses are available for tweens and teens, there's not that much because it's not black and white. It's like if
Mm-hmm.
you're potty training, you might be able to follow these steps to have the result that you want. But teenagers are complex and emotional, and they're well on their way to separating and individuating and becoming adults.
Right.
And it's not a one size fits all. And so I think as appealing as that might sound, it might be realistic for like this much of the population, a very
Mm-hmm.
small amount, but probably not for
do
everybody.
do a lot of your do you find that a lot of your child's like friends or like
yeah.
in his class, like do most kids have phones?
Majority of them do. And this has been like such a battle with my son.
Totally.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. I don't feel like he's ready for that yet. He gets
Yeah.
very addicted very quickly. He's very
Yeah.
impulsive still. And he's an active boy. He needs to be like
Yeah.
out doing stuff.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
but a lot of kids have their phones. And so then
hmm
he's like, when do I get one? And I'm like, we're not sure yet. We'll decide.
hmm
That's what you're so mean. Oh, you're the worst
Yep.
parents ever. You don't get it. Like literally.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
this has
Yeah.
been an ongoing conversation. And every time we're like, no, we do understand that it's hard that other
Yeah.
people have it and you feel left out, but we're just not ready
hmm
for to like that will
Yeah.
open the floodgates. Because like right
Yeah.
now we're letting him use his iPad, which is very limited right now.
Yeah.
He has like his email so he can message his friends. But then we started
Okay.
noticing, oh, all they're doing is sending each other videos from YouTube. And I'm like, I can't monitor that. And
That's
I'm like,
right.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's just such a waste of time. But then he wakes up first thing in
Yeah.
the morning. Can I check my messages? And I'm like, oh, I'm already seeing
Yes.
this as a problem. So
Yeah.
I know.
not,
And it sounds like you really know your kid. And I think that's kind of our message is like we can be all the experts with all of the research and all of the data, and we don't know everybody's individual child, right?
yeah.
We can present, like, we're happy to talk openly about the data and the research, and we're honest about all of that, but we don't want to come off like, oh, if you just do this, it'll be totally
They're
fine.
gonna be perfect, right?
Because it's
Well, because
not
I would love
realistic.
if he used his iPad to like FaceTime with his friends. But I noticed
Yeah,
when he did that, which I was like, oh, that's cool. You guys are like getting together, hanging out. It
totally.
was one of them playing video games and they just shared the screen and watched him play video
Yeah.
games. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Isn't that so
not
fascinating?
what we
it
wanted
is.
either. Like
Or they'll
that
watch on
backfired.
Yes.
YouTube, like they'll watch on YouTube
Yes.
other
Other
kids
people.
play
Yes.
video games. Or like
Yeah.
my son who's 6 likes to watch other kids like play with
Play too.
Legos on
Yes.
YouTube. I'm
So
like,
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
huh.
And at first you're like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe you're gonna get ideas from him, but then it just ends up being like doom
Yeah.
scrolling
Yeah.
and they just like go to the
Yeah,
next
just
one,
like
go to the next
zoning
one.
Yeah.
So
out.
now I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
we're just not ready for that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know your kid. You know what
Right.
is right in that moment. And I think that's a key part of parenting. And that's a key part of our message is like empowerment and having the resources, having that background information, and also really tuning in to what is right for you and your family.
Mhm. So what about like when we're communicating and our conversations escalate a little bit and he starts crying and mom, you're terrible. Like how do parents keep calm when they're feeling that too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a great question. So, I mean, I think if you're escalated, whether that's you, like you yourself are escalated, your partner is escalated, or your child is escalated, maybe all three of you are escalated. Nothing gets solved during escalation, right? So I think if anybody's escalated, the best thing to do is just pause and remind your child, like, hey, either I'm having a hard time right now, or you're having a hard time. Let's take a step back. I'm here for you. We're going to come back to this when we're in a place that, we're able to have a conversation. So when somebody's escalated, it's never the time to try to solve a problem or to have a conversation. But once that escalation has kind of resolved itself and everybody's in a space to be able to engage, we have something that we talk about in our course called PRR. And it stands for present, reflect, and respond. So it's just an easy tool to have in your back pocket when you're engaging with your tween or teen. So when they're talking to you, or you're trying to connect with them, you want to be present with them. So you're not distracted on your phone. You're not like trying to do, a million other things. You're looking at them, you're with them in the moment. And then you are reflecting back what you hear. So maybe they're telling you like, I had a really hard test at school today. So you're reflecting back to them instead of like maybe trying to give an opinion or advice. And you're responding to them in real time. So that's just kind of like a tool that we like to use when your child is at baseline, when you're at baseline. But yeah, it's hard when you get, when you're not regulated, when you're not in your body. And that happens a lot in parenting. It's really easy as a parent to get triggered by your child. And you're like, wait, is this about them or is this about me? Like, I don't
100%.
know.
Yeah.
And we talk
Yeah.
about in our course, like reflecting back on, your own experience as a child and how that informs how you show up with your child. So yeah, we have lots of different strategies to help support you in those moments when feelings are heightened so that you can come back to that place of
I
connection.
love that. I noticed that I always thought I'm a teacher. I was very calm as a teacher. Yeah, I use my teacher voice, but I
Right.
never yelled at a student. I have yelled at my children and I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
I will never be like that as a mom, but they know how to
They
trigger
trigger you.
me.
They
Yeah.
know
They
your
they
points.
they
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Just like you know them, they know you too.
Yes. Oh,
And I
that,
think
hmm
in those moments, like so let's say your kid's really upset that they don't have a phone and they're like, you're the worst mom in the world, like you're saying all that kind of stuff, right? And the instinct is to like stop this, right? I want
Yeah.
this to end. And so to end something, we want to be like, don't talk to me like that, or fine, I'll just get you the phone, or we're not talking about this anymore. And sometimes it's just about being like, you're really frustrated that you can't have this phone. Like you used really good words earlier. Like, we get it. It's really hard to feel left out of something and you're really frustrated with it. And they might rage and yell, and that's the reflection piece. Like, you don't have to solve it in this moment. You don't have to have the answer. You don't have to decide. You can just validate the feeling.
Oh, I love it. That's so much easier than trying to
Yeah.
solve it.
Let's
I'm
say
like,
they
I
want to
just
go
need to make him
to
feel better, but also stick with my
right?
boundaries. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and sometimes like it is two things can be true. It can be really frustrating to him that he doesn't have a phone and he's probably not ready. And as the parent, you're going to lean towards the you're not ready, but
Mm,
you don't have to convince him that he's not ready in that moment. You just have to stick with the feeling of like you're really disappointed that this isn't working out the way that you wanted to, and
oh,
that is hard.
love that. What
Sometimes I
about,
have to remind myself that I'm the parent in the situation, but that helps me
oh
because
my
I'm
gosh,
like,
that's true.
wait, like, can I tell him no? Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, yes, no, I am the parent. Like, it is
Should we have
okay
more
for me
ice
to like
cream?
set this boundary.
Right.
Like,
Well,
no,
because it,
I'm the parent.
yeah,
Like,
it is really hard when it feels like every other parent around
Yeah.
here is doing it. And so then
Yes.
you're like, how am I the only one not
I know.
letting, but
yeah,
I
It feels
know I'm not.
isolating. It
Because the
feels
more we
isolating.
talk
You're
to
not.
people, there's more parents who are like,
Right.
we want to try and do less screen time this summer. Like, we
Yeah.
want to like
yeah.
not start this yet. So I'm like, I'm not alone, but yeah.
And at the end of the day, even if you were the only parent, you are confident and sure that this is the right choice for your family in this moment, right? And
Hmm.
that can shift and change, and that's okay. But you don't, like I said, you don't have to solve it right now. You don't have to ease his feeling. You just have to notice his feeling.
I love that. I definitely need to work on that because I
It's
start to
It's
hard.
hard.
escalate and
It's
he
so
starts
hard. I know.
What
And
about
it's
those
like
kids?
your impulse is, I just want this to stop.
Mm-hmm. What about the kids that won't open up? Because I've heard two teens are like, they'll just go off in
Yeah.
their room. They won't talk to you about anything. What about those teens?
So we have this tip called, do you want to talk about it, Hannah? Face to
No.
face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
what
Sorry.
would you can talk about the door one?
Yeah, I love that one.
Okay.
You go for it.
You share it,
Okay.
Leah.
Okay. So we have so many, we
So many
have these
tips.
like
I
We
love
love a
these.
metaphor.
we love a metaphor, but just like this idea of like keeping the door open versus keeping the door closed. We like to say keep the door cracked, right? Like if you keep the door wide open and your teen feels like you are just bombarding them and you're in their face, like they're going to pull away even more, right? Because they're already maybe feeling like they need to, kind of shut down or step away. And then when you are just piling on, that's just going to kind of further that feeling. So that's like when you're keeping the door fully open. Keeping the door fully closed means like you're checking out. You're like, okay, my teen doesn't want to talk to me. Maybe I'm taking it personally. I'm just gonna like let them do their own thing and I'm gonna walk away. Keeping the door cracked open a little bit lets your teen know that you're still there. And this is a metaphor, right? We don't need to
Mhm.
like literally like keep the door cracked open, but like you're like, okay, I'm still here and I'm also respecting your space and your independence and your individuality and what you need right now. So I'm going to let you know like, hey, I recognize that you need some space right now, or this is what you're doing. And if you change your mind, or if you do want to go on that walk with me, or if you do want to talk about this difficult thing, I'm still here. You can come and talk to me. That will never change. So reminding them that you are not going to go away, you're not going to abandon them, but that you are also acknowledging the fact that they are developing into their own person. Caitlin had mentioned this concept of individuation and separation. So during adolescence, teenagers are figuring out who they are outside of the family unit and who they are in the world. And oftentimes that can lead to them, they're separating outside of the home. They're spending more time with friends, more time um, without the family unit. And so it can feel personal. It can feel like they're moving away from you. So just kind of acknowledging, like, that's okay. That's okay. Like, you do you, and I'm still here,
Mm.
holding both of
Yeah.
those truths at the same time.
I feel like that's going to be a tough adjustment.
It is. It
Right?
is.
Just letting them do that independent stuff, knowing like my baby.
Yeah,
It is
totally.
hard.
Yeah.
I
Now, what
know.
about some of those like really tough situations? So, like, I see like sex and drugs and drinking and
Mhm.
bullying, things that are hard for parents to have that talk with. Like, we did the little
Mhm.
sex talk with my oldest, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
How'd
I'm
it
not able
go?
to do this.
Yeah.
I was surprised how like it was, he kept asking questions.
It's
And so
great.
we were like, oh, okay, this is going to be a talk we need to have maybe with when your brothers are not around. So we ended up having this session. I think he knew more than I thought he did. But he was very open and has since asked a few questions here or there. So it was always like,
Interesting.
if you have questions, I mean, I am like such a shy, like private person. So the fact that I was like,
Mhm.
just like, "Bleh," like telling him
Yeah.
everything was so hard for me. But I know I want him to be able to ask us this stuff.
Yes.
But
Wait,
it
do you
was
have three
still
boys?
like, what?
Do you have three boys?
3 boys. Yeah.
Woo.
And I was like really surprised that he asked me. I mean, he kind of like had asked both of us at a certain time, but it just worked out that I was home and
Mhm.
we could talk about it. And he was like very eager, like, hey, are we gonna have that talk,
Mhm.
Mom? Are we gonna, and I kept going like, oh
Good for
yeah, we're
him.
gonna
Good
have it.
self-advocacy.
I was
I
like,
know.
And
I
a
need
minute
to
now.
prep myself. I need to prepare myself. And then it was just kind of like, yeah, we're having it.
And
Yeah.
good for you for not shutting it down and putting
Right.
yourself
Yes.
in an uncomfortable
Right.
situation. Because
It was,
Mhm.
it can be awkward.
yeah. And
So
I'm like, I
hard.
know it's not
Yeah.
gonna be the last time, but
Right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, how do parents get over how awkward that is?
I think
I
like just accepting that it's awkward, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You don't. It just is.
yeah.
Awkward.
I mean, I have wildly awkward conversations with teenagers all the time, and we have a strategy where it's related to boundaries and independence, but it plays in here, but basically creating a parenting alter ego, right? Of like, I'm going to be the parent that I want to be in this moment. Maybe that's not the parent that I feel like I am in this moment, but I'm
Mhm.
confident, I'm cool, I'm collected, I'm knowledgeable, I'm open. And that might not be what it feels like, but you're faking it till you make it a little bit.
Yes. Okay.
And
Love that.
sometimes you have to just be like, oh, okay, that's it. That's what you chose to do.
I
And
I had to read a test to a student the other day as an accommodation. And of course, it's, like a 15-year-old boy and it's his HI test. And it was like talking about the
HI stands for
HI.
human
oh yeah,
interaction.
Oh,
So
human
okay.
it's
interaction. So,
like there's sex ed stuff in
Okay.
there.
and the poor kid, like we're reading the test together about, STDs. Actually, they call them STIs now. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the bodily fluids, and his little cheeks were just so red. And in the moment, I'm like, this is so awkward. Like, but
Yes.
we're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like laugh through it too,
Right.
And
and
Well,
also, like,
approach
that was
it.
probably helpful.
exposure.
Like we both were like, this is so awkward, right?
So
He's like, this is
awkward.
so
Yes.
uncomfortable. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
it's weird for me too.
Totally.
and
The
then he's
more you
like,
talk about it, it normalizes it
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
So it makes it over time. By the time you get to your third, you're going to be like,
Right.
oh my God,
Piece of
Here's
cake.
how
I
it
talk about this
goes.
all
He'll
the
already
time.
know about it from his
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
my
exactly.
whole
totally.
thing was I want him to hear it from us, even though he has
Yes.
like clearly he had
Of
heard
course.
stuff from others,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I need it to at least come from us.
and so he's
Yeah.
fifth or sixth?
5th grade.
He's fifth. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
going into 6th.
Going
And I
into
don't even
6th.
think they have, gosh, you would know in California, isn't
Yeah.
it 7th
So
grade or something? It's
there's different levels.
okay.
So there's like something that happens in 5th grade, that's more about like your body, your changing
I
body.
need to ask him if they even did that.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, they
Okay.
might. But it's more like this is what a period is. And all
Mhm.
kids, like back when I was young, it was like the girls got the period talk and
Right.
the boys didn't, but now they all get
Right.
it. So
Is this one in California? Do I have to give permission to? Because
I think
don't.
it's the opposite. Like
You have to give
you
permission
have to,
not to.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
like,
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Exactly.
gonna ask him
And
about
then
this. I
yeah,
haven't.
you should.
Mhm.
And then in 7th grade they have another discussion around like safe sex and all of that kind of stuff. And then in 9th grade they have they have a semester class that is focuses on sex ed, but also focuses on
Like
substance
stress and
abuse,
fatigue.
stress, yeah, mental
Okay.
health, all of that.
Okay.
And it's a
I
semester
love
long.
that it's in schools, but also like I can't leave it up to just the school to
No,
take
you
care of it.
cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want
Absolutely.
your
And
child to feel like they can come to you, that you're
yes.
also a safe space for them to have those difficult conversations with. And
Yeah.
I think back to your original question of like, how do I have those conversations? I think the most important piece is to just continue to reiterate to your child that you are that safe space, that they can come to you no
Mhm.
matter what it is. And you are going to always love them and accept them no matter what topic they bring to you, no matter what the conversation is.
Right.
Um,
Right. I mean, it helped out that he was the one that kind of
yeah.
initiated. It'd
Right.
be
So,
very
I mean,
different.
that's
Like
great.
my middle, my youngest, maybe they'll be different, and they're like, I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
it. I'm like, yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
talk about it. It would be a
Totally.
lot harder for them to open up.
Yeah.
What about how can parents help teens get more independent? Because like you kind of hear this right now where like kids can't do anything on their own, and
Mm-hmm.
especially like there are some teens. I heard someone say from a college professor that a lot of teens are having a hard time going away to school because they're just
And getting
not
their
used
driver's
to.
license. They don't
Yes,
want to get their driver's
there's a
license.
lot of
Yeah.
them. I am hearing that too.
Uh-huh.
Someone we know, the daughter's 20 and doesn't have her license yet. We're like, when I was a
A
Mm-hmm.
lot
kid,
of
it was
It's like
16,
16th
the day of your
birthday.
birthday,
Yeah.
you're getting it.
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
moment of my life.
Why
There's
is
a
that
lot of
happening?
Yeah.
Why is that a
It gets scary to be an adult right now. It feels
Mhm.
overwhelming. I um do a group at the high school called Pups and Pals where I bring my two therapy dogs in, and it's for students that have a harder time making friends. And we were talking about this with them, and there was I think like 12 or 13 kids in the group at the time. And I asked them like how many of you are excited to like graduate and become an adult? And every single one of them was like, not me. Um, and
What?
I think COVID, not to blame COVID, because
Mhm.
COVID and social media are the two things that get blamed for everything. But
Yeah.
I
That
do
was very
think that,
impactful.
yeah. And I
Hmm.
think there was like a robbing of some years of development there. And it also is hard to be an adult right now. It can feel overwhelming, and there's a lot going on in our society. And I think
It's
there's some
it's more difficult to be independent. Like it's
hmm
harder to maybe get a job and make the kind of money that allows you to be independent, or maybe your
yeah.
parents are in a situation where they aren't able to provide you the opportunities for you to be able to
hmm
be independent.
Mm, yeah. So what can parents do if you're noticing like, gosh, I've got a 16-year-old who doesn't ever want to go out and do things on their own or look for a job?
Yeah.
How can they help them?
So I think it's important to start incorporating things, when your kids are young that are age appropriate in terms of like different tasks and activities that they can do to help build their independence. But like, let's say you have a 16-year-old and you're like, oh, snap, like
Too late.
they're
Shoot.
going to be 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There,
She'll
there
never
are
leave
so
the
many,
house.
right. I think you want to meet your teen where they're at, right? Like if they're 16 and they are having a hard time leaving the house, you're not going to be like, let's go get your driver's license, right? You're going to start small. And so that might look like, hey, um, let's talk about what your week looks like and what, do you have any appointments? Do you have anything that's due for school? Let's put things on a calendar. So or let's make you in charge of your laundry or teach you how to do something that is like a care task that helps them to take care of themselves, whether it's a physical need or an emotional need. So something that you can identify with your teen that helps them to take care of themselves. And in our course, we have a whole module on fostering independence and setting boundaries. So, and we have an activity where we have a roadmap to independence. So it shows age appropriate tasks that you can build in with your tween and teen based on where they're at. So at this age, you can, incorporate these things. At this age range, you can incorporate these things. But I think it's meeting them where they're at and starting small.
I love that. I haven't gotten that module yet, but I'm like, that's one that because I feel like my own kids are kind of like yearning for a little more independence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is kind of scary for me
It
as a
is
parent
scary.
to like, is
Totally.
this too much? Is this not? Because like the other day they were riding bikes and I was like, I'm just gonna let them be out there. They're fine. And then a neighbor had to come to me and been like, your kid, I almost hit him in the street. And I was like, okay, so here I am trying to let them be a little more
Right.
free. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to just stay right on here. You can like go
Yeah.
off a
Yeah,
little bit. And then I was like, it backfired.
I
It's just
know. It's
tough.
frustrating. It's so hard, that push and pull.
Hmm. What advice do you say to parents who might feel like it's too late to
Mm.
connect with your teen? Like, oh shoot, we missed the window. They
Yeah.
completely shut off.
I think first of all, you asked such good questions when we were
Thank you.
like it's
Well, I
very
have one coming
clear.
up, so I'm trying to like
I
every
know, but it's very
scenario,
clear
like
that
what can I come
you're
up with?
like really thoughtful about all this, so we
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
it. But I think it's never too late. Your kid wants you. I've spent many a therapy session with a teenager who feels misunderstood or
Mhm.
um like they can't connect with their parent. And it doesn't matter if I'm the best therapist in the world or we're the best teachers or school counselors in the world. The kid wants the parent, right? They want to feel connected to their parent.
Mhm.
And when kids are little, they might say something like, I hate you, you're horrible, you're the worst mom in the world. And then 10 minutes later, you're so
I love
beautiful and I
you.
love you so much. And they're so cute and small and it's so easy to forgive
Mhm.
them. And you understand their brains developing because they're teeny tiny. So yeah, they're triggering and it's overwhelming, but it's easier to come back to it. But when you have a teenager that might smell bad and doesn't clean up their room and has all of your dishes in the room and now there's ants, it's a
Oh,
little
great.
harder
Oh,
to
this
it's
is
a
gonna
little
be
harder
fun.
to forgive them, right? Like it's harder and sometimes when you have this moody 17-year-old that is probably moving out next year, it's like, why am I even trying? But we are in the business of family connections and fostering that connection, and it is never too late. And we always talk about like when your kids are small, you think of those as being the formative years, and they are. They're really important. And the memories that your child has often come from their tween and teen years, right?
Oh,
And
yeah, it's so
so
true.
you don't want to just be like, oh, we had such a good time when they were little, but when they were teenagers is horrible.
Right.
Because this is really the time to shape your adult relationships with your kids. And we only have them in our house as children for a short period of time. And the majority of your relationship with your child, ideally, is as an adult. And so, really investing in that communication now is so important.
Oh my gosh. This is so many great ideas and advice. I love this. All of this is in your course. So tell us a little bit more about um, what you have in it and how we can find it.
So
Yeah.
our course is it's a 5 module course. We start off with an introduction to who we are and what you'll find in the course and how to get like the most use out of the course. And then we start to dive right in module 2. We talk about brain development for teens. And then in module 3, we cover communication and connection. Module 4, we talk about setting boundaries and fostering independence. And then module 5, we cover the escalation curve. So understanding your own escalation curve. Oop, my AirPod just fell out.
So
Hannah, you
yeah,
pick up where I left
yeah.
off.
So it helps parents to identify like their own triggers and what escalates them and how that can be different from your teens. And so then we go over different ways to, manage all of those big feelings and some ways to self-care. And that's how we end our course.
I feel like that
Yeah.
is the component that I don't see in other, teen advice things where it's like,
Hmm.
let me turn inward a little bit. And it's not just like, how do I fix this? It's like, how do
Hmm.
I navigate this whole thing? And I am a human too, going through this phase with my child. So how can
Yeah.
I do it with them?
I think that was a key point in our development of this is because we have spent our time working with the teenagers directly, we really wanted to provide a resource for parents that is focused on the parent experience. And people get that confused a lot. They often think that our resource is for teenagers. And we're like, no, 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 it's for the parent because because our name, Cultivating Roots, is all about like you are the roots, and what you are cultivating is this relationship, this person. You're supporting their dynamics and their growth and development, but you are the roots.
Okay, I love it. And as someone who has also made a course, I can say it's so professionally done. I'm very impressed with it. Very easy to watch too, because I'm like, I don't have time to watch like hours and hours. So the fact that it's like quick little videos that I can go through, love it. You have a special promo, right, for the podcast. What is the promo they can use?
They can use the promo Pancakes.
Okay. Awesome. Love it.
Yes.
And I'll put that in the show notes.
And they can get 20% off our course.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love what you all are doing. I think it's so fun that you all get to work together.
It's the dream.
Wish you all the best. Going viral, getting all this help for all these teenagers.
Katie. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
I hope this episode gave you some reassurance and a fresh perspective for the season that you're in or which is to come. Remember, the teen years aren't just about surviving, they're about growing stronger together. I loved that message. If you want to learn more about Cultivateen Roots, check out the link in the show notes and make sure to use the code PANCAKES for a special discount. And if this episode made you feel seen, share it with a friend who is parenting a teen also. Because, we are better when we do this motherhood thing together. Thank you for listening. I cannot wait for you to join me next week. And I want to remind all moms that everyone burns their first pancakes, so just keep flipping.